Introduction, because you wouldn't all be here if you didn't know who Stephen King is, so I'm not going to say anything more than that, except to say that he's authored more than 50 novels and has sold over 1/3 of 1 billion copies. Rather extraordinary achievement for anyone. So with that, I think you're going to say a few words, Steve.
I'm going to say a few words, but I'm just going to say a few. One of the reasons that it took me so long to come over to this side of the Atlantic as a public person is because it's sort of shameful that you all speak my language and I don't speak yours. It makes me feel like a class dunce, actually, a little bit. But the other thing was, I was sort of curious to see if there would be any reaction at all. I'm amazed that all you people are here, but you know, for years, old American rockers have come to Europe and have got a warm welcome, so I thought maybe an old American writer could come over here and get the same sort of reaction. But it's great anyway, and I really appreciate it. And a lot of people have asked me about the sort of stuff that I write, and don't ask me where I get my ideas because I don't know. But obviously I got a reputation somewhere along the way as a horror writer. I was in a supermarket in Florida last year, and I came around the corner, and there was an old lady who was pushing a shopping cart. She was bent over with the scoliosis, and she said, "I know who you are. You're Stephen King. You write those horror books." "Well, I don't care for those horror books," she said. "I like uplifting things like that Shawshank Redemption." And I said, "I wrote that," and she said, "No, you didn't." So I guess that you'll call me what you want to call me, but it's great to be here, and I'm jet lagged out of my friggin' mind, but if you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Jim,
we have an old tradition here that the members of the executive council get to ask the first questions, so you are primarily known, I guess, as a horror writer. A speculative fiction, I guess, is one of the ways they put the sort of futuristic, to include the futuristic and sci-fi aspects of what you do. But let me ask you a question I've wondered about as I've read some of your things. As someone who is a master at creating horrifying situations, what's the worst, most horrifying way to die?
Well, you know, there was a, you might have to help me here, but there was a health food writer some years ago, not Ewell Gibbons, he was the fruit and vegetables man, but there was another guy who was a promoter of healthy living who went on one of the late night talk shows. It happened to be the Dick Cavett show back in the day, and he died on the air. And I think really the worst way I could think to go out would be, you know, if I just suddenly had a heart attack right here. Now, if one of you guys had a heart attack, that would be material.
Okay, so we can maybe start our Q&A session. So we have questions here, Jim and I, we have a list of questions which have been put by different friends over here. But we can start. Who wants to put the first question in the auditorium? Okay, go ahead, sir. Before you start your question, tell who you are.
Okay. My name is Gorian Delpature. I'm a journalist for the Belgian television and a long-time fan, a book reviewer too. I would like to know, when you wrote Shining in 1977, you had problems with alcohol, and alcohol was the main character of your book. Now, in Dr. Sleep, alcohol is also a main character, but I think that you are drinking Coca Light and not Budweiser. You don't have any more problems with alcohol. Is it easier to talk about alcohol when you are an alcoholic or when you are sober?
Well, I think that it's, that a lot of people, I had to look at that to make sure it wasn't a Bud Light, actually it's a Coke Light. I think it's all right to write about both ends of alcoholism. There's certainly no reason why you can't write about alcohol and alcohol addiction as an active alcoholic. Malcolm Lowry did it in Under the Volcano. So I think in some ways it's tougher to write about recovery from alcohol because nobody wants to make it sound like Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. Nobody wants to give the impression that it's all a Hallmark card and sweetness and light. But when I wrote The Shining, I was drinking heavily. Whether or not I was an alcoholic is a judgment that I don't try to make. But I certainly knew the subject of alcohol. And all those years later, the driving force behind Dr. Sleep, I didn't really want to write a tract on alcoholism. I had no interest in that whatsoever. What I wanted to do was reconnect with Danny Torrance, the little boy from The Shining. And I felt that because alcohol addiction is something that tends to run in families, that I would go ahead and let him be an alcoholic and see if he could do a better job than his dad.
Question from, where are you from?
I'm from China, the Modern Weekly. And very nice to meet you, Mr. Stephen King. And in your fiction, and the supernatural power is one of the most frequent elements. And back to the reality, I'm wondering if you really believe it existed. If you believe so, what kind of power you want to equip yourself? Thank you.
If I could have any superpower, like psychic power, what would I like to have? Well, all of them. I'm not sure I would really want to have any. The Shining in that book and in Dr. Sleep is kind of the ability to read minds and know what people are thinking, but I'm not sure that I'd always want to do that because, you know, there's an old English proverb, peep not through a knothole, lest you be vexed. And I think that if you could hear people's thoughts when they concern you, you might not always hear things that you wanted to hear. So I'm not sure I'd want that. The one power that Danny Torrance has as somebody who shines, and Abra Stone and Dr. Sleep that I would like to have now that I think about it, is the ability to find lost things. Because I can never find my keys. You know what? I can't find the mustard in the refrigerator. My wife says that men suffer from refrigerator blindness. It's a disease where, you know, you look and you say, honey, I can't find that damn yogurt. And she comes out and it's right there in the front, everything. So I would like to be able to do that. And really, my wife is the one who usually loses things, so I could use that. But the other things, the ability to make people do things, like Carrie White or Abra Stone in this book, I don't think I want to have those. That's too much power for a normal person.
Go ahead.
Joan Shore, the Huffington.
Joan Shore.
Joan Shore, the Huffington Post. Mr. King, as a longtime professional journalist, I'm very concerned about the so-called citizen journalists now, the pseudo-journalists who with an iPad and a camera are putting recklessly anything on the internet. And I'm wondering now with the self-publishing industry, whether we're not going to have a lot of citizen novelists or pseudo-authors who will be flooding the world with a lot of bad writing. How do you feel about that?
Interesting question. Did you all hear it?